Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to be here tonight, and a special shout out to the cheerleaders. A little more on that today. When I was told that the prompt was the word becoming, I loved the idea. I felt like the word is so promising and optimistic, and we all know that the state of becoming pretty much all the time. So I started thinking about my own life and the idea of becoming. Because we're all becoming something, or we want to change something, or we want to become something, achieve something. And so we're all in the process of that all the time. And I thought about my own experiences, and I thought about children. So the reason that had come to mind was, in the old days when I was in high school, I wanted to be a cheerleader, but I did not really have the confidence initially, so I sort of masked that with humor during practices, but really it came to the point where I knew I really wanted to be a cheerleader. So what did I do? I went home every day after the practices, and I would practice more, and I picked out the most perfect outfit, and I showed up that day for trials, and I literally made it in the first round as the only person who didn't have to try out again. And I was actually, it was one of those things I'm very proud of. So, also in high school, back in those days, I also became sort of a cheerleader for my boyfriend at the time. Wanted to become, he was running for president of the class, and my best friend was running for vice president. So I ran their campaigns, and I was their sort of chief cheerleader at the time. And they wanted me, so that was kind of gratifying. And then I remember my dad called me one day. He had what he said to me was terrible news, and I was at work, and it was horrible. And he said, I lost my job. After 25 years, I've been laid off, and it's devastating. And within, I think, a second, I said to my dad, congratulations, Dad. You hated that job for the last decade of the 25 years you've been here. But because you have a family of 6, and because you were loyal to the company you could be. So, on through my life, many experiences were in coaching. And I started after I became divorced, I got coaching practice, and women that need to go back to work. So I feel like I've always been a cheerleader, and that's what I've done the best at. And I was becoming a cheerleader in many different areas of my life, and I eventually reached what I consider to be the pinnacle, which is the Chief Human Resource Officer at my company, and where I get to coach and help and develop employees from entry level to executives, and it's so gratifying. But I guess the most gratifying cheerleading role I've ever had was when I became a mother. And it was particularly challenging, and it tested my skills because I had 3 children all at once, because I gave birth to triplets. And they were going to be all at the same time for all the same reasons. So, but that was, again, as I say, the most gratifying thing I ever became, and they are now my biggest cheerleaders. And I look at life, and I want to celebrate the idea of becoming, because becoming is the film where what you achieve is the later. And I feel like that is the one thing that we may miss while we're becoming. And I feel that optimism that we bring to that process is what gets us through. So